Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to call our meeting to order. I'd like to begin with an approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Sherwood and Councillor McIntosh, all in favor? And that is carried. Was there any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interests? I do have one for item 12.2.1.2, the OBIA audited financial statements. I will declare a conflict for that portion. I will stay for the presentation, but my daughter works for the BIA, so I'll declare a conflict for that piece. So at that time, I will turn the chair over to Deputy Mayor Taylor. We had no closed meeting, so we'll head right into the open meeting, and we will begin with the singing of our national anthem, and I would ask that you rise if you're able. We would like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territory of the Williams Treaty Nations and of the Mississaugas the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and is home to many Indigenous people today. Tonight's meeting is being aired on public television and or streamed live and may be saved for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. Any member of the public who's connecting via telephone is reminded to press *9 to raise their hand to indicate their intention to speak, and dial *6 to mute and unmute when called upon during the appropriate portions of the meeting. We have no rise and report. We do have some previous council meeting minutes. We have the council meeting minutes from February 9th and the public meeting minutes from February 23rd. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Stevens. Any questions or comments on them? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We'll now move into open forum. In open forum, Orangeville residents have the opportunity to present their views or pose a question to council on any subject within council's jurisdiction for a maximum time of 3 minutes, provided they've not previously addressed the same topic before council within the last 3 months. Any residents connecting via telephone are reminded to press *9 to indicate their intention to speak, and once called upon, press *6 to mute and unmute. Do we have anybody on the line? No? Was there anybody in the gallery who wished to speak during open forum? Come on up.
An accessibility and DEI coordination position was budgeted, then cut in 2023. Family got a taste of those standards when it comes to accessibility, facts easily confirmed by town management. First, our family had to go to the IPC to correct both the town's head clerk and manager of infrastructure and transportation while keeping accessibility training records for Orangeville Transit drivers on file. Secondly, our family had to get our service dog agency to educate the manager of infrastructure and transportation about standards about service dogs on public transit. And first student drivers had to be retrained on the transit accessibility after 3 incidents involving our family. Third, our family confirmed with the help of the IPC that those 3 accessibility infractions were never officially documented by the manager of infrastructure and transportation or for student drivers as required contractually and according to town policy. So my questions are, 1, how does the town plan to address all the chronic non-compliance with accessibility highlighted by the Ability Center report or the letter you sent to our family back in 2024? Additionally, does the town stand by the decision in 2023 of not to have both an accessibility and DEI coordinator? Thank you.
CAO Smith?
Yeah, I can comment on that. It's, as was alluded to, we've had an audit of our transit system and of our corporation in terms of accessibility and compliance. We will be sharing that with members of council. When that report comes forward, it will indicate our path forward. So we were proactive to do that, and we will continue to be like that.
Thank you. Anything else anybody wants to add? Mr. Koslak?
Through your worship, as CEO Smith mentioned, we are bringing the report forward to, I believe it's the next council meeting with additional information. So we'll be able to speak more of the items at that time.
Thank you so much. Was there anybody else who wished to speak today during open forum? Welcome, Mr. Middleton. Just a reminder for your name and address for the record, and once the mic is on and you start to speak, you'll have 3 minutes.
Mark Middleton, Zina Street. And I just wanted to say good evening, Mayor and council members. I'd like to speak about the March break childcare capacity here in the town of Orangeville, specifically at Alder Street Recreation Center. Rather than framing this as a complaint, I'd like to focus on data and planning. First, what was this year's actual capacity at Alder Arena, and how many March break spots were offered, how many families applied, how many were waitlisted, and how many were ultimately turned away? Clear numbers help us understand whether this is an occasional pressure or a constant shortfall. Second, many households today rely on dual incomes. When programs fill up, parents must scramble for care or to take unpaid leave. Has the town assessed how limited capacity at this location impacts working families? Is there a needs assessment in place, and is the childcare planning aligned with our population growth? And third, for those on the wait list, what is the historical movement? What percentage of families typically receive placement? Residents deserve, I guess, realistic expectations when registering for programs at Alder Arena. And finally, if demand continues to exceed supply, is there a plan to expand programming at Alder Street Recreation Center as partnerships with schools, community centers, or private providers being explored? And if this trend continues, expansion may not be optional, it may be necessary. Also, I just wanted to add the 8 or 9 a.m. starts typically don't work for 56% of our commuting population. 6:37 is typically what you see people leaving the town here as they're going to work. So those starts won't work for those families. And thank you.
I will turn it over to Ms. Savage. I'm not sure she'll have the answers that you're looking for today. She probably didn't come prepared with data, but I'm sure she can follow up with you. But Ms. Savage, I'll let you speak to it.
Thank you, Mayor Post. Yes, all good inquiries, and I will dig a little bit deeper. A couple of things I know I can mention is one other stat we'd have to look at is how many potential staff do we have, because there is a ratio that you have to uphold, right? A 1-to-10 ratio. So provided we can hire more staff, and if we have the space, then I'm sure that the planning team is considering those things. Noted the earlier start time. Also, for non-residents, they are eligible to register for any of these programs 3 days to 1 week later than a non-resident. So if a non-resident, they have a little bit of time in the beginning to be able to register for the program before any non-resident has an opportunity to do so. Another point. There are subsidy programs. Yeah, I do. There are subsidy programs out there through the County of Dufferin. There's also the Jumpstart Canadian Tire program. I'm not sure if you were mentioning about affordability, but an opportunity to plug it here that we do work closely with other partnering agencies to help offer those subsidy programs, but we will look at our fill rates and our waitlist rates.
Thank you. Yep, CIO Smith.
I'd just like to step in and build on one topic that Ms. Savage spoke about, because it applies to a lot of our business services, and that's the availability of staff. March break program is a 1-week program. It's very difficult to staff, and it's very difficult to staff reliably. And we don't want to be in a position where we say to somebody, hey, you registered your child 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, you are relying on us and us not being able to get staff. So when we look across our services, the availability of staff, particularly in these short employment windows, is very difficult to secure. Our recreation staff work really hard to maximize space. You know, their goal is to get more kids in those programs, more kids in swimming lessons. That's what their goal is. They work hard to do it. Staff is a limitation.
Thank you, CIO. Well said. Anybody else wishing to ask a question? Come on up, Tammy. Again, name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm back. Tamara Linebeer, 8 Feed Street. Madam Mayor, councillors, town staff, and members of the gallery. Today is March 9th, 2026. The province set a goal to achieve full accessibility by January 1st, 2025, and we are still nowhere near meeting the goal. I would be lying if I said it didn't hurt to watch friends try new restaurants or attend music venues that I cannot access. Reading those social media posts sometimes feels like sitting outside a window, watching friends and family inside having a great time. While the province set ambitious goals, accessibility progress has been slow. I understand that under the building code, many existing buildings are grandfathered, unless they undergo major renovations. However, grandfathered does not mean exempt. The Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act applies to customer service, employment, information, and communication standards, areas that are not grandfathered. And most importantly, the Ontario Human Rights Code has primacy over all other legislation, including the building code. Even if a building is grandfathered, there remains a legal obligation to accommodate people with disabilities to the point of undue hardship. Accessibility is not optional, it's a legal and human right. It's also an economic opportunity. People with disabilities represent over $50 billion in buying power in Canada and over $1 trillion globally. There are 6.2 million Canadians with disabilities. In Ontario alone, 2.6 million people, that's 24% of the population, identify as having a disability. Approximately 45%, that's 1.12 million Ontarians, have mobility-related disabilities. More than 40% are over the age of 65, and that number will continue to grow as our population ages. When business commits to accessibility, it sends a clear message: you are welcome here. When accessibility is an afterthought, the message becomes, we tolerate you. My question for the town of Orangeville this evening is, are there currently any municipal grants or programs available to assist business owners with accessibility-related renovations? Would the town consider waiving building permit fees for businesses that voluntarily undertake accessibility upgrades? And if such assistance programs exist, why is this information not being proactively shared with business owners, particularly before ribbon-cutting ceremonies where the town is celebrating and promoting these businesses? Thank you for your time.
CAO Smith?
I can just comment a little bit. We have people that come in and ask questions, and staff have no heads up, no knowledge. We have email addresses. We have the ability for people to call and give us a heads up. I can't answer that question in a knowledgeable way off the top of my head. I'll say it that way. Happy to take the question back. I would encourage all people that come to a question period, if they want good answers to good questions, send them in advance. Otherwise, it puts us in an awkward situation of being asked anything at all about municipal services from 50 years ago to 50 years in the future. It's not really a situation we can. So you deserve a good answer to your questions. We're not prepared to answer it tonight, but we will circle back.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I would just comment that we do have our community improvement plan, which does have accessibility components to it for any existing businesses who are looking to do accessibility upgrades. That is one of the programs offered through the town that people can apply for. So it is shared, the BIA is aware of it, and they share it with all of their members, and it is shared widely on our social media and through our economic development team as well. Thank you, Ms. Linebeer. Thanks for being here. Anybody else in open forum today?
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Rick Ugolini, Cedar Drive, Orangeville. And one big comment I'd like to make is I appreciate the road plows this past winter, did one hell of a job as far as I'm concerned. And I know we had a bad winter, and I was happy with the snow plowing, so thank you. And another issue I have is a transit stop at Cedar and Lawrence. It's in the mud, it's in the snow, it's in the ice. I saw somebody fall there on Saturday trying to get to the stop. And the thing I see, if that stop could be moved approximately 15 to 20 feet to the sidewalk, the new sidewalk, which isn't even a year old yet, it would be a lot safer and a lot better for everybody concerned. It's just a matter of pulling at the post, moving it 15, 20 feet, plucking it back in. Now, what does it cost to build a pad? I've heard as much as $14,000. And how much does it cost to move a post? So that is a solution to a problem.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Ugolini. I see Tony furiously taking notes, so I'm assuming that that's what you wrote down. Thank you. So I'm sure that Mr. DeLeese will look into it. CAO Smith, yeah, go
I
ahead.
just comment again, great suggestion. You don't have to wait for a council meeting to offer that. We all have email address. We have ways that you can submit suggestions. You get quicker response. We're knowledgeable about things. So, as much as I can, I'm going to keep redirecting people to use all of the communication methods they have. If there's an unsafe situation on Saturday, we're finding about, it's probably resolved itself, but send an email, and we're hearing it through email just the same as we are tonight.
I don't email.
Yeah, well,
I do this.
yeah, so we all have phones. We all have phone extensions. We have numbers that you can call.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor Taylor?
She's censoring me already. Yeah, thank you, Worship. I just wanted to comment, Mr. Ugolini, on the snow removal piece. I appreciate your comments. I know it's probably the most controversial thing that we'll have until we get to lawn cutting season in June, and we'll move on from snow clearing. I think it's interesting to note what we're going to be doing, what staff has agreed to do, is to bring forward a report late spring on snow clearing and sort of a stop, start, continue, and things that we can do better at and improvements for next year, and things that, quite frankly, we should pat ourselves on the back for too. So it's not lost on us that, there needs to be further conversation. I don't know what's going to get resolved, because the reality is the winter, and we're sort of at its mercy. But at the same time, I think it's a good time to do a review of where we're at, and that's going to come before summer.
Job. They kept the roads open, which in the past, I know our street, years ago, you couldn't even climb that little hill. And I've even gone out and helped push cars up the hill. I wouldn't do it today, though. I'm just too old. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Anybody else for open forum tonight? Okay, so we will move into our presentations. We will start with Matthew Smith, who's doing a presentation regarding his transit experience. Just a reminder that you've got 5 minutes. We'll see where we end up, and we can potentially extend a couple minutes if needed, but go ahead.
Really quickly. All right. All right. Thank you, Mayor Post, and good evening, members of council. My name is Matthew Smith. I live on McCarthy Street. And tonight I'd like to present my experience riding Orangeville Transit for the first time on Family Day. And I'd like to highlight a couple areas that I feel could use some improvement to the service. I realize some things are easier to implement than others, but I feel this discussion is necessary for the betterment of the system. Yes, no, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, I know. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the purpose of my trip was just to put myself in the shoes of someone else. I want to see what it was going to be like for someone who needs to ride the transit system on both routes, both the orange and the blue route. And that's why I happen to choose the Sobeys as my destination, because Sobeys itself and the surrounding plaza, it's a popular place to go to, not only for groceries, but it's also kind of a large employment area for many people. Next slide, please. So the route map here, as I highlighted, I started at my home, which is the red dot in the center, and I walked over to the Lord Dufferin stop, which is at 1st and Elizabeth Street. And then this required me to ride the entirety of the orange route, bring me back to the hub, transfer to the blue route, ride half of that, and eventually I reached my destination. And then to get home, I rode the other half of the blue route back to the hub and then just walked the rest. Next slide, please. The timeline of my journey was I left my house at 1 p.m. when the bus arrived at the stop right on time at 1:18, which was great. I arrived at 2:20, so that's an hour on the bus from the time I got on to the time I got off. I did my shopping, I caught the next bus, and made it back home at 3:30. So the total trip was 2.5 hours. And I didn't highlight it on the previous slide, but it's about a 2.5 kilometer straight line from my home to Sobeys, and to walk it would be 40 minutes. And this particular trip took 2.5 hours. Next slide, please. So some of the observations I had for my trip was, well, for starters, that day, on that day only though, the AVL, the automatic vehicle locator, wasn't functioning. So I didn't know what time the bus would actually arrive at the stop. Luckily, the bus was on schedule that day, and I have checked a few times since then, and it is working. It's just on that particular day, for whatever reason, it wasn't functioning. Next slide, please. So this was the stop I used across from the Lord Dufferin retirement home. Now, for myself, being able-bodied, this stop wasn't an issue, and you can see it has been cleared, but for residents of the Lord Dufferin Center, I imagine some of them might have difficulty here because there is no actual ramp to get up onto the cleared portion because it's just an entire curb. And I know there's no concrete pad here, and kind of where I'm standing on a private driveway, and right beside there is a laneway. I know there's not much room to squeeze in a stop here, but I just feel this particular stop isn't meeting the needs of the Lord Dufferin residents, and I believe that's why the stop was actually placed there to service the building. The next slide, please. So one of the other observations I had was the lack of route maps or schedules in the shelters. So the two photos on the left, or the two shelters I have on the left, that's the transit hub itself. That didn't have the map or the schedules posted. And then the one at the right, that was my destination. That was the Centennial Road stop in front of the Sobeys Plaza. Again, no route or no route map or schedule was posted, but luckily that's an easy fix. Next slide, please. This was a bit frustrating. Unfortunately, this shelter at Centennial Road at the Sobeys Plaza had quite a bit of garbage in it. Now, by no means am I saying the town is responsible for it, but this stop doesn't have a garbage can. So maybe if the town were to put a garbage can in, it's not going to guarantee people aren't going to be littering on the ground, but at least it gives them the opportunity to throw their stuff out rather than throw it on the ground. Again, an easy fix, and I hope something like that could be implemented. Next slide, please. So this was one of the more glaring issues I encountered, which is the bus stops not being announced. In 2007, the TTC was determined to have been violating someone's human rights, a visually impaired rider, by not calling out the stops. And the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal gave them 30 days to comply after their ruling. Now, I know this isn't going to be an issue, hopefully it won't be an issue when we have the so-called real, air quote real, transit buses, but up until we get those, this issue is going to persist that the stops aren't being called out. Next slide, please. This is something I noticed as well, where it's a potential safety issue with this stop and possibly others in town, where if someone, say, has an accessibility need to use the ramp on the school bus. May I continue?
Council, can I get a motion to extend by a couple of minutes? Deputy Mayor? And Councillor McIntosh, all in favor? And that's carried. You've got a couple extra minutes.
Thank you. You're on my good side now. So if someone were to use a ramp, or someone requires the ramp on the school bus at this particular stop, assuming they're probably going to be loading onto the bus from the sidewalk, the ramp for the school bus is at the rear of the vehicle. So the entire bus would have to pull forward, thus blocking basically the entire intersection for the amount of time it takes for someone to load or unload at the stop. So I believe that would be a safety issue. So again, once we get the so-called real transit buses and you're loading at the front, that issue won't be there. But until that happens, there is a potential safety issue with this stop and others, and possibly others in town. Next slide, please. So this was some of the feedback I received when I shared this on social media. The overarching theme is just the length of the routes. The 45-minute routes isn't really working for many of the transit users. And some people are choosing either to walk, and some are also saying they're willing to pay to have a shorter service or more additional routes to better meet their needs. But I do want to highlight the first one there, where someone had said they're visually impaired and they don't have the luxury of walking. So the town transit system isn't really meeting their needs. So I do want to call back to what I said previously about the human rights violation with the TTC, with a visually impaired rider not having the stops called out on their behalf. So that's some potential feedback that we really need to implement the stop announcements. Next slide, please. So just some suggestions for improvements. An easy one, having the maps and the schedules posted at the hub and having it at all the shelters. Having the physical paper there right on the shelters is needed. I'm just going to use my parents as an example. My parents are seniors, both have smartphones. My mom doesn't really know how to use the smartphone feature of it, and she actually, quite frankly, she doesn't have data, but my dad does. And like they wouldn't be able to navigate various apps or QR codes. So just having the old-fashioned paper posted in the transit shelters is a big benefit. Garbage cans, just make sure all the shelters have garbage cans, make sure they're emptied regularly. Snow removal. Some of the stops didn't have proper snow removal of that, and I know accessibility has been a topic tonight, so one way to improve accessibility at some of the stops is just have the snow removed. And for the stops that do have, say, concrete pads, put the universal wheelchair symbol on the pole right at the stops, just to highlight this is an accessible stop, this is one you can use with the wheelchair. Just something simple like that, just for the town to advertise it's an accessible stop.
Can you take the next 30 seconds, wrap it up?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And then the last one is going to be considering adding a third route. When we get the 40-foot bus delivered, adding a third route. Either the route would be, we could rejig all 3 routes or have the 2 existing with the third route intersecting the ones sort of running in the opposite direction to provide bi-directional service on some of the roads, just to improve the service for the riders, because 2 45-minute routes, based on the feedback I received and based on my own experience, isn't really meeting the needs of the transit riders. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Appreciate your presentation. Thank you for your comments. And I just wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, we know that there's been challenges with the new routes. Just recently, our team from transportation has been gathering feedback from riders of the bus. They've done some visits to some of the areas that are frequent transit stops and spoken to the riders that are there and gotten some feedback. We're expecting a council report very soon. I'll let you say when, but I know we're expecting a report to come to council soon that talks about what that feedback has looked like and what our opportunities are. I agree with you. I would love to see us back at the 30, 35 minutes. I would love to see a third route added back in. The changes that we made were based on the feedback that we got, and that's why the routes were changed the way that they are, because the feedback at all of our public input was that people were more concerned about the buses being on time, and by changing them to 45-minute routes, that allowed it. And it was pointed out in your presentation that the bus was on time at every stop that you were there as well. So that's definitely an improvement, but I understand exactly what you're saying, and we know that there's opportunity. The other thing that I wanted to say is that accessibility has been flagged by previous residents, some of them here tonight, and we appreciate that feedback, because what it did have us do was actually hire an outside consulting company to do a full audit on our transit system to see where our deficiencies are, see what our improvements can be, and to help us put together a feasible plan on how we can fix some of those things. So again, I appreciate it, and it's timely because all of those reports are already on their way. I know one of them is coming in the next 2 weeks, and the other is coming, the accessibility report, I think, is the next council meeting, and the other transit report is coming shortly thereafter. CAO Smith, did you want to add anything? I know council has some questions as well.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, and echo you, Mayor, I wanted to thank Mr. Smith for affirming that the number one issue we heard about transit has been resolved, which is the reliability of routes. Every bus was on time, and that was the number one complaint we had. So we've checked this off. I am curious, I'm not going to ask you to answer this, but I was a little bit curious when you described the route and the 2.5 hours. You actually chose it would have been quicker to walk the 5 minutes to the blue route rather than taking the full 45 minutes to do one route and then jump on the second route. And I appreciate at the beginning you said I wanted to experience the route, but that doesn't, I don't think, reflect in the time. It would take a typical route. You walk to the hub, you get on, you go to the Sobeys, and you get back. So the 2.5 hours, I don't want people to think that is the right time that it would take to do that route. And maybe I've misinterpreted something. I'm not looking for debate. I'm just commenting on that. Our new buses are in the queue, so many of the issues that are resolved when they get delivered this year, barring a global pandemic or a global conflict, we are expecting new buses. They will resolve the announcements. They will resolve some of the accessibility concerns that we're well aware of, so we're delighted with that. And Mayor, as you've spoken, our staff have ridden with actual riders on the bus, rather than social media comments from people that may have never taken the bus, or they may, but we've been on the bus with actual riders and collected their feedback. And that is summarized in a report that is coming to council. The opening of Hanson also gives a really good opportunity to refine and revise and increase our transit coverage. This is a strong passion for members of council to have good transit coverage. So that's all coming together. In fact, the report is in my inbox for approval, so it'll be coming most likely the next council meeting, but there is potential depending on other things for the following council meeting. I also know that it was Family Day, and there is sometimes impact to service levels on statutory holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, CAO Smith. Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your presentation. I actually think it's great that you came and shared the areas for improvement that you saw. And why I'm excited about it is the very fact that you saw these things tells me that people are actually using the transit. So if you could go back, I would have mothballed this whole thing years ago. This is year 8 for me. I'm the only one that sat up here and said, I don't want this thing. It was a vote to go to free transit, and I was wrong. I was wrong. And I'll tell you why. It's because the ridership has gone up. And there is a propensity between people who need the service and those who don't. We need those people to be out in the community and using the service. So I think it's great that you found all these things. It shows me that it's being used, which was my fear, that we were just shoving money at something and weren't getting a benefit for it. So I think that's great. It's funny, CAO Smith and I are usually fairly in tune, and I was surprised at your route as well. So I think the 2.5 hours is somewhat unfair to be suggesting that it would take you that long. I would have gone a different way and shaved off a significant amount of time. I don't know what a route would take in another, like if I was in Woodstock or Stratford, it'd be interesting to understand what their bus route would take for a similar route. That would be interesting to me to understand. And then the last piece is, you know, CAO Smith brought up the investments that are being made. So there is more money that's being invested. There is a third route. that's coming, and there's new buses that are coming. So council's done a lot of things to try and get this transit system up and going. And for the record, I'm not against transit. I think it's absolutely what we need to have happen. It's just our transit system was so bad before, I felt like we were wasting our money. So for you to be here today, I think it's absolutely great. And I hope more people are there. I wish they would treat it like it was their own. It's a shame that they're putting garbage down and maybe abusing it in certain ways. But we all own that, all of us in this room, including you, Mr. Smith, right? To make sure that we're helping and picking up and calling people out and saying they shouldn't be doing that. Like, that's all of our money. So anyway, I think it's fantastic that this is ongoing. I applaud you for taking the experience. I think more people should try and understand what other people are up against as well. And we're all trying to make it better. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was asked of me why I chose, say, Sobeys instead of, and I know Mr. Smith had said, instead of, say, walking to the transit hub or walking to the Blue Route. I wanted to experience what it would be like to say, if I was, say, a Lord Dufferin resident and I can't walk to the hub, or let's say I lived in Rolling Hills area near the hospital, and it would be impractical to walk somewhere else. So I want, and they're only a couple minutes via the bus just east of here, so maybe take 10 minutes one way, so 20 minutes total off the trip. So it still would have been, you know, a very long trip if I had started, say, in the Rolling Hills area where it wouldn't be feasible. So that's why I wanted to start kind of like in the east and see what it would be like to have to go the entire trip just to get back to the hub.
CEO Smith, go ahead.
I just wanted to comment, Deputy Mayor, a full disclosure, our report is coming. We have seen a dip in transit ridership, so I don't want you to think that everything is terrific with transit. The number one complaints we're getting are buses, which we know we're resolving. We've resolved the consistency on that. The length of the route is a topic that keeps coming up, so our staff are reviewing it. And again, with the opening of Hanson, we think there's an ability to revise the route or add an additional route, subject to council approval to do that. I just don't want you to go home thinking, you know, something in your head isn't what you're going to see.
You should focus on the fact that he admitted he was wrong at the council table. I thought that was really good, and I'm glad it's being taped. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith, for being here. Appreciate your presentation. Thanks. Up next, I will invite Jeff Patterson, the treasurer for the BIA, to do the 2026 Orangeville Business Improvement Area Annual Report. I believe Allison is probably going to come up with them as well, maybe? Okay, perfect. Just give me 1 sec, Mr. Patterson. We just got to make sure your mic is on. I think they're just trying to get stuff sorted here. Give them just 1 sec. I think now you're good.
Good evening, Mayor Post and Deputy Mayor Taylor and fellow board member of the OBIA and council and everyone gathered here this evening. Thanks for the opportunity to present our annual report this evening. Downtown Orangeville continues to thrive because of the strong entrepreneurial spirit of businesses and the collaboration and shared leadership that supports it. The OBIA values its partnership with council and town staff, and we recognize that our success is built on that alignment. From winter operations and infrastructure support to beautification initiatives, event support, and tourism development, town support enables our small businesses to operate, adapt, and grow in a challenging economic environment. Equally important is the problem-solving responsiveness and strategic dialogue that allow us to move initiatives forward effectively. We see the OBIA and the town as partners in shaping the long-term strength of our downtown, and we appreciate the ongoing commitment to that shared responsibility. Next slide, please. As always, our annual presentation begins with the fundamentals, what the BIA does and why that work matters. At its core, we exist to strengthen downtown Orangeville as a welcoming, vibrant, and economically resilient destination for our community, our visitors, our businesses, and their customers. We advance that mission in many ways through beautification, events, advocacy, marketing, and strategic initiatives. But at the center of everything we do is our business community. When our businesses succeed, our downtown succeeds. And when downtown thrives, the entire community benefits. Next slide, please. To keep our work focused and accountable, we have organized our efforts around 5 strategic pillars. Each pillar represents a distinct area of activity, but they are not standalone. They are interconnected and reinforce one another, much like downtown itself. Our budget is aligned with these pillars, allowing you to see clearly how and where we are investing our resources in support of our broader objectives. We will provide a brief recap of 2025 outcomes and an overview of our 2026 priorities within each of these 5 pillars. Next slide, please. The OBIA delivers its mandate through a wide range of initiatives and strategic planning efforts. While we gather member input year-round, in 2025, we expanded those efforts with additional in-person engagement opportunities. The result was a strong response. Members shared many creative and thoughtful ideas for downtown Orangeville. Each idea was documented and reviewed by the board in consultation with staff. They were evaluated based on cost benefit and impact, available financial and human resources, funding and grant opportunities, implementation timelines, member support, and alignment with the BIA's mandate and governing legislation. We also reviewed our existing events and initiatives as part of this process to ensure a comprehensive and responsible assessment. Following that review, initiatives were prioritized and some were paused or revamped. Most of our core initiatives continued, and several new ideas were approved for 2025 implementation, including the expansion of Boo on Broadway, shown in blue on the upcoming slides. More initiatives were identified for possible rollout in 26 or 27 and are shown in yellow on the upcoming slide. The remaining ideas, shown in coral, will be revisited annually based on member support, cost impact analysis, available resources, and funding opportunities. So with decisions made and priorities set, I'll now review how it translates into action under our pillars. Next slide, please. I think we can all agree that downtown Orangeville is the commercial center of Dufferin County, the heart of Orangeville, and a key tourism driver for visitors to our region. We have a beautiful heritage buildings framing our vibrant streetscape, attracting local and visitors alike, but we know downtown can be run so much more. Throughout 25 engagement initiatives, we heard many thoughtful and ambitious ideas about the future of downtown. Not just how it looks, but how it should feel and function as Orangeville's cultural and community connection epicenter. Some of these ideas are new and some we've heard for years. You've likely heard many of them yourselves. What stands out most is how much members care about downtown's long-term success. Rather than addressing smaller ideas individually and deferring larger ones indefinitely, the board believes it's time to step back and look at the bigger picture. For this reason, the board is undertaking a structured downtown visioning exercise to create a high-level 25-year framework to guide thoughtful evolution and to better position us for grant funding opportunities. Now, moving to our annual streetscape operations. In 2025, our beautification efforts included a second mural at 106 Broadway, the new saxophonist sculpture, and more seasonal displays. We are working toward another mural and exploring a new public art project for 2026. Beautification activities represented approximately $106,000 in '25 and $110,000 in 2026. Next slide, please. Customer attraction remains central to our mandate. Bringing people downtown consistently supports business sustainability. In 2025, we expanded events such as Joy and Lights, Boo on Broadway, and the Summer Sidewalk Music Series in response to member feedback. Weather challenges hampered the second Joy and Lights weekend, but the first weekend was very successful with overall Joy book submissions increasing by 60%. We also introduced Oktoberfest and transitioned our sidewalk sale to the mullet sale format. Our new and expanded events were well received and drove strong community engagement. These initiatives, along with the Farmers Market, Winter Market, and Fork It, will be repeated in 2026 with additional promotions planned to support shoulder seasons. Customer attraction represents approximately $340,000, or about 55% of our budget. This includes event delivery, support for key third-party festivals, and nearly $100,000 annually to preserve public parking inventory, a continued priority for members of the BIA. Next slide, please. Member engagement strengthens communication and collaboration within our business community. We engage through in-person member ambassador visits, digital communications, sector meetings, and direct outreach, with SMS messaging planned for 2026. We also encourage collaboration between members, Sunday openings, storefront beautification, and care of the public space in front of businesses. This pillar represents approximately $39,000, or about 6% of our budget, and while modest financially, it is foundational to our overall success. Next slide, please. Stakeholder alignment reflects the work we do in partnership with key community organizations and town departments, including Orangeville Tourism, Economic Development, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, town committees, Theatre Orangeville, the Optimist Club, Celebrate Your Awesome, and the Blues and Jazz Festival. These partnerships allow us to accomplish more collectively than we would ever be able to do independently. By collaborating, coordinating resources, and aligning efforts, we enhance programming, strengthen events, and extend the impact of every dollar invested. We also actively support other organizations in delivering high-quality events, and in turn, we are able to leverage those events to drive additional traffic and economic activity downtown. The new Town OBIA Memorandum of Understanding has further strengthened the Town-BIA relationship by formalizing roles and improving coordination. In 2026, we will continue identifying the opportunities to collaborate and maximize shared impact. Stakeholder alignment represents just $17,500, or approximately 3% of our 26 budget. Again, a modest investment, but with significant community return. Next slide, please. Organizational effectiveness ensures we operate responsibly and sustainably. In 2025, we continued leveraging town services such as accounting and insurance to manage costs. Following benchmarking of 66 Ontario BIAs, the board adopted a structured multi-year compensation alignment plan. It will be reviewed annually and implemented responsibly to support retention and continuity. In 2026, along with the vision study, we will explore digitizing the Downtown Dollar program and undertake a strategic plan update. This pillar represents approximately $66,000, or about 11% of our budget, and supports governance and core operations. Next slide, please. The bigger picture. So our 2025 outreach efforts provided meaningful insight, broadened our perspective, and clarified where the BIA can add the most value in supporting downtown businesses and attracting visitors. The feedback we received directly shaped the new and expanded events and initiatives you've seen this evening. And I want to reiterate that those changes were very well received by both our members and the broader community. At the same time, the scale and ambition of many ideas reinforced the importance of thinking beyond annual programming. Hence, the Downtown Vision Project intended to provide a long-term strategic framework and better position us to structure external grant funding. None of this work happens in isolation. The continued participation of our members and support of the town of Orangeville is essential to ensuring our initiatives are successful for businesses and enjoyable for residents and visitors alike. Next slide, please. Here's a brief visual snapshot of just some of the initiatives we delivered or supported in 2025. These events represent significant coordination, partnership, and community participation, and we are already well underway in planning their return for 2026. Next slide, please. Now, turning to the 2025 preliminary financial report. Beginning in the expenses section, organizational effectiveness came in slightly over budget. Special projects exceeded budget due to the unplanned refurbishment of our winter light displays. However, pausing the Taste of Orangeville reduced customer attraction expenses. Some of those funds were redirected to culinary photography, restaurant social media features, and Oktoberfest. Stakeholder alignment, member engagement, and beautified space all concluded within budget. In the revenue section, event revenue was lower than projected due to the Taste of Orangeville pause. As a result, both expenses and revenue were lower than budgeted, and we ended the year with a smaller deficit than was anticipated. The reserve fund remains healthy and available for emergencies, special projects, or parking opportunities. Next slide, please. Now on to the 2026 budget. Projected revenue is $577,300, a 1.4% increase due primarily to extending the pause on Taste of Orangeville and adjusting other revenue projections. Operating expenses decreased by a corresponding 1.4%. A $41,400 special projects allocation funded from reserves will support a public art project, a strategic plan update, and downtown vision plan. The levy increases to $539,300. This increase reflects continued catch-up after 8 years of zero increases, higher professional services costs, and implementation of a structured multi-year compensation alignment plan, all reviewed annually and implemented responsibly. 85% of members will see an average levy increase of just $44 on an annual basis. Smaller businesses experience minimal levy impact with our proportionally greater contribution from larger commercial multi-tenant properties. The reserve balance is estimated at $288,009 currently and $246,609 projected at the end of 2026. Reserves are restricted to capital projects, studies, tax write-offs, or emergencies, not to fund ongoing operations. Next slide, please. These charts provide a visual comparison of the 26 and 25 budgets. Year-over-year changes are modest, as you can see. They also show that the majority of our investment continues to focus on customer attraction, marketing, events, promotions, and beautification, all aimed at supporting downtown businesses. That concludes our annual report. We respectfully request that Council receive the OBIA's 2024 financial statement and 2025 preliminary financial report and approve the OBIA's 2026 budget. Thank you for your continued support, and Allison and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patterson, and thanks, Ms. Shield, for being here. At this time, I'm going to step away and I'm going to turn the chair over to Deputy Mayor Taylor, who can lead the conversation. The clerk's team has informed me that they've turned off the queue to make it easy for you to navigate any conversation. So I will leave, and the chair is yours.
Very good. This will be the efficient part of the meeting with the mayor leaving. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Patterson. Allison, good to see you. So at this time, Council, we do have a recommendation, and the recommendation is that Council receive the OBIA 2024 audited financial statements and that Council approve the BIA 2025 preliminary financial report, and that council approve the BIA 2026 budget in the amount of $618,700, including a BIA levy of $536K, projected other revenues of $41,000, and a contribution from reserves of $41,400. Can I get a motion to get this, or mover to get this? So Councillor Stevens, Councillor Andrews, thank you. Any comments or questions, council? Anyone? Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. Good evening, Mr. Patterson, Ms. Shield. Always a pleasure to have the BIA here in the council chambers as chair of the Economic Development Committee. Again, Vice Chair Patterson sits on that committee, and again, we truly appreciate your input and representation, also the BIA at that particular forum. Quick question, and you did highlight it in your pie chart here, the comparison between 2025 and 2026, and you did answer the question I was going to pose, which was reflective of the special projects. One in particular interested me, and I think for the sake of this public forum that we have, is, of course, the visionary plan for the downtown. The municipality had gone through that exercise in our previous term, for those of us on council may recall that. There was ambitious plans to not only look at what was happening in Alexandra Park behind us, the possibility, and again, not opening the can of worms about the cenotaph, but also the importance of the downtown core itself. I know it's premature, but will there be any opportunity to kind of align some of those ideas that came about in a document that was quite robust, and in fact it was curated through the Economic Development Office? Just your thoughts on that at this time.
Mr. Patterson.
Chair Taylor, thank you, and thank you for the question, Councillor Andrews. I'm going to defer to Allison to answer that question.
Allison.
Just switch. Through you, Chair Taylor, to Councillor Andrews. Yes, so the studies that the town has done, the reports, the plans, anything that that mentions downtown will be looked at as part of that visioning exercise. And I believe you're referring to the Recreation and Parks Master Plan that was created, it might have been during COVID or pre-COVID. And that was kind of, that'll be kind of our jumping off point for this vision plan.
Councillor Andrews, did you have anything?
No,
further?
I don't. Thank you very much. That's really the answer I was looking for.
If I could just add on to that, I think the idea of that whole thing too is to make sure that the town and the BIA are working in conjunction together and understanding what resources would be and what is prudent and what isn't. And it's a partnership, not to put words in your mouth, but I'm on the board too. So that's my reading of it. Are you aligned to? Yeah, perfect.
And I believe that the idea is that this vision will eventually, at some point in the future, when budgets permit, will turn into a master plan for downtown Orangeville, which other communities are doing to ensure that their downtown reflects the community that they want in 25, 30, 50 years.
That's great. Any further comments from council? Just one from me, if I could. Again, I sit on the board, so I get to see some things that maybe everybody doesn't else get to see. There is a huge amount of care on your board, the two of you, which is amazing. And the members work so hard to make our town a better place. The events are tremendous, and I don't know what we would do as a town without the BIA. It's just a function of a successful town. And we really appreciate everything that you do. So thank you.
So we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so council, we have a motion on the floor. Were you signaling? No. Okay. All in favor? Yes. Okay. That passes. We should sit here for 5 or 10 minutes and all relax. And I'll just call in the mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for being here. Okay, we'll now move into the consent agenda. The following items have been compiled under the consent agenda to facilitate a single vote for council. Council may remove any items from the consent agenda. I have gotten note about 3. Councillor Andrews is removing 13.1.1. Councillor McIntosh is removing 13.1.2. And Deputy Mayor Taylor, 13.1.6. Was there any other items that any members of council wish to pull from the consent agenda? Not seeing any then. The recommendation is that all consent agenda items for the current council meeting listed under 13.1 staff reports, 13.2 correspondence, and 13.3 committee board minutes be received or approved as presented, with the exception of the items removed for individual consideration, which include 13.1.1, 13.1.2, and 13.1.6. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Sherwood and Councillor McIntosh. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. 13.1.1 is government advocacy. The recommendation is that that report CAO 2026-004, Government Advocacy and Work Plan 2026-2027 be received, and that council approve the 2026-2027 Government Advocacy Work Plan attached as Appendix A, and that council approve the priority advocacy areas identified in Appendix B, and that council direct staff to continue pursuing meaningful advocacy opportunities as they arise, and that council direct staff to report back annually on progress towards implementation of the Government Advocacy Work Plan. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Stevens, and I will turn it to Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. Great to comment on this, and really this is the intent of my reason for pulling this out of the consent agenda is to primarily provide a comment. The report itself, exceptional, and for, again, the general public to understand the importance of government relations in these times is critical. For our municipality to stand proud, love Orangeville, and make other people aware of it, it is critical to make sure that we do have a strategy, and the strategy does outline everything that has been done, especially in this term. I do want to compliment the team itself for not only assembling this report, but also, more importantly, highlighting the critical nature of what the outcome is. And I just go to page 93 of the original agenda for Council's review. The comment, it states here, government priorities, funding opportunities, and local circumstances can shift quickly. Grant applications may be approved or declined, new initiatives may emerge, and capital priorities may evolve between planning cycles. And as we know, things can happen on a dime, things can change, and I think the general public needs to know that we are advocating on behalf of you and the municipality. The last comment that I do want to make, Mayor Post, is in fact those sidebarred conversations. It's not necessarily highlighted in this document, but it is referenced, I guess, at a high level. It's really what happens behind the scenes, and Mayor Post and other members of council have attended a number of conferences. It's where we have those one-to-one discussions with the ministerial representation. It is those conversations, surprisingly, over a coffee or in between a conference activity that fosters a lot of initiatives. And we are, in fact, recipients, as the General Manager of Corporate Services has highlighted at various times in Council, that we have garnered, if I'm correct in saying so, close to or around $30 million in grants and support for various projects during this term of Council. And I think it's reflective of a two-way street. It's our staff, but it's also members of council who have been able to link together with either, as we call it, the network that we've established during this term of council, but it is also very important to represent our municipality proudly, and I think we're doing so. And again, this report reflects that accurately. So that's all I have to say, Council, Mayor Post.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Was there any other questions or comments on this item? No, then I will call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Up next, we have the Fire Radio Tower Agreement with Mono. The recommendation is that report CMS 2026-4 Fire Radio Tower Agreement be received, and that the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville and the Corporation of the Town of Mono enter into an agreement for the use of the Mono Water Tower located at 3 French Drive in Mono for the installation of emergency communications equipment to be used by Orangeville Fire Services, and that Council authorize the Fire Chief to act on behalf of the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville to execute any of the documents necessary for the purposes of the agreement. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Stevens, and I will turn it over to Councillor McIntosh.
Thank you, Your Worship. One question and one comment to Ms. Savage. I've been through the report a couple of times. Is there a monthly fee to this?
Ms. Savage?
Through you, Mayor Post. Councillor McIntosh, no, there is no monthly fee. There is no monthly fee for us to put any of the communication hardware onto the tower, and there's no monthly fee that we would pay Mono or that they would pay us. Really, if they were to charge us for a monthly fee, we'd end up charging them back through the service agreement, so it doesn't make sense.
Okay. And my comment is, when I was fire chief, I tried for 10 years to get this to happen. So I don't know what strings you guys pulled, but congratulations.
Way to go, Chief Schneider. Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm so glad that this particular initiative is moving forward. I do have more of a commentary, but a question too as well. The importance of this is critical because of the vulnerability that exists with technology changes. And again, having a bit of a background I'm a technical nerd when it comes to radio installations, and so I kind of have an understanding of this. From a topography point of view, was this the optimum location?
Ms. Savage?
Through you, Mayor Post, Councillor Andrews, yes, it was. The coverage is much more broader than what we are experiencing now.
Okay. And again, I think that the other point that I had was really referencing the vulnerability with technology that has advanced the digitization, and this is a microwave connection, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, it is.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Was there any other questions on this item? Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. Next, we have the updates to the Municipal Pollinator Garden. The recommendation is that report INS 2026-10, updates to the Municipal Pollinator Garden, be received, and that Council authorize the Mayor and Clerk to sign the Memo of Understanding amendment on behalf of the town between the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville and the Corporation of the County of Dufferin to permit the installation and maintenance of a pollinator garden on county-controlled property at 30 Centre Street. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor. And Deputy Mayor, you had a question?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. CAO Smith, you're very, very proud of me. I sent this ahead of time, so I would like some sort of accolades.
That was reported to me.
Thank you very much. And so what I did was I sent this to Mr. Koslak, and I believe this is, am I confused, Heather? No, is it there? Okay. So my question is so first of all, comment is I think it's a great initiative. So kudos to the team. I thought it was particularly well written and well thought out, and I was just really pleased with the report. And this is nitpicking on my part, and it's just the one section in there where it says that basically town staff is going to resume looking after the garden once it converts to the pollinator garden. And just candidly, you know, we don't do a great job at this overall. Like, they tend to get missed or it falls apart a little bit. And so my fear is that here's one more thing that the town has taken on, and some examples that I gave you when we were chatting, and so for the public to know, you know, the Santa Claus Parade used to be done by a volunteer group. Now it's taken on by town staff. There's certainly other things that we had chatted about that were along this, and so now this is going to go to town staff too, and it used to be done by a group of hardy volunteers. And my concern is will we do a good job at this? Do we have the staff set up? I don't want to be embarrassed. It's at a proper corner, and I hope you don't take this as negative to any of the team. I'm just concerned for all of us and want us to do a good job and really nail this, and it's a concern.
Mr. Koslak?
Through your worship, one of the nice things with the way the pollinator garden is designed, it's low maintenance and largely self-sustaining. And luckily, we have the author of the report here. So I'd like to introduce to council Kathleen Rogue. She's the author of the report, and she's our Senior Climate Change and Sustainability Specialist. And maybe I'll let her answer the question and give a bit more of an overview of the garden itself.
I will turn it over to you.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Through you, Mayor Post, thank you, Councillor Taylor. That's great. Those are great comments. And I'll piggyback off of what Mr. Koslak said. Was ideally after 2 to 3 years, pollinator gardens are self-sustaining. That's the beauty of these gardens. And maybe Ms. Savage could also add to this, but we are inheriting several gardens from the Horticulture Society because they're unable to keep up. Originally, our pollinator protection plan, which was presented last year, included a new garden. And so to not add to the burden of our staff, we decided to take one of the gardens that the Horticulture Society that we inherited from the Horticulture Society and convert it to a pollinator garden. So we're not creating a new garden, we're updating one of the existing gardens that we will be inheriting. And yes, ideally after 2-3 years, there'll be minimal maintenance.
Ms. Savage, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
Thank you, Mayor Post. And yes, thank you, Catherine. So within the last couple of years, there's been 5 of the 12 Horticultural Society gardens transferred to the town, and it's simply because the capacity of the volunteers. It's not without there's the eagerness to do it, it's just the volunteer capacity, and so slowly we are bringing back some of those gardens into our daily operations. It was a smart move by the IS team to take one of the existing gardens and convert it to a pollinator garden. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Savage. Councillor Andrews?
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship. Catherine, thank you for your insight, your expertise. Quickly, just piggybacking on Deputy Mayor Taylor's point, I appreciate the communication that is highlighting how it's all going to, of course, be supported. My curiosity was, in fact, the size of that pollinator garden. I think it's a great idea, but what was the sweet spot? How did you come up with 150 square feet? Is it just because of what was there, or is there any way of expanding it?
Catherine, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Councillor Andrews, so the garden bed currently is slightly smaller. It's slightly increasing. I think right now it's like 10 by 10 is going to 10 by 15 feet. And that was just in collaboration with our parks team and Adam Brown. So we had sort of conversation, and we can't go too large because it won't be accessible and it'll go into the pathway as well. So that was a great question, and we did consider that. So it is being slightly increased.
Deputy Mayor Taylor.
Thank you very much, Mayor Post. May I ask, that location on Center Street, to me, that has a high degree of traffic and a lot of eyes. Like, I can't help myself. My eyes glaze over to it because it's an open field and a very urban-centered, high-density area. I'm just curious, when I read the report, it talks about the West End versus Center Street. Like, in my bias, the West End would have been a little bit less busy, and I'm not suggesting the West End isn't busy, but just based on the traffic that's in that area. Would we not want to try it in an area where it wouldn't be seen as much prior to getting this settled? Again, my whole thing is I don't want to look at something that we already have issues in that area with undeveloped housing and a whole bunch of houses for sale that aren't being looked at. I just don't want it to fall down and have it be unsightly.
Catherine, go ahead.
Thank you again. Councillor Taylor, that's a fair comment. The reason why we chose that location is because of the high traffic count. We want to use this first pollinator garden as an education piece to our town, to our residents, and have more eyes on this garden to recognize the beauty of pollinator gardens. They're not just weed-filled, dandelion-filled, which I love dandelions, gardens that could be added to homes as well as backyards and beautify your property, as well as start building our pollinator corridors and population within the town.
I would add too, Deputy Mayor, if you haven't been to see Mono's Pollinator Garden that's right beside Dufferin Board of Trades building, you should. It's absolutely beautiful, and it is, I mean, definitely wildflowers, and it's absolutely stunning. Deputy Mayor Taylor, go ahead.
I know it well, and I appreciate your comments. Yeah, it is beautiful. Again, my focus is I'm just worried about the transition and our ability to maintain. So thank you for answering all that. I just wanted to quickly move on. It made me think, we had the conversation tonight about transit. And Mayor Post, you might appreciate this. When we got into discussions about where the transfer station would be, that's another one I lost. I didn't want it there. But I move on to other things. But one of the discussions at that time was, hey, there's going to be this garden here, and people are getting fruits and vegetables out of the garden, and now there's going to be a bus transfer station right beside it. Are there any issues with the bus transfer station and the pollinator garden being so close together and the impact of that?
Catherine?
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. No, I don't think so, especially because there are pollinators already present there for the community garden. This will just strengthen the community garden. And The size of the actual garden is very small, like 10 by 15 feet for a pollinator garden is minimal. And pollinators don't just include bees, so that concern to proximity, for the proximity to the bus station, I don't think so. But I'm assuming that in the future, if there is that issue, we will consider that and update the garden accordingly.
Thank you. Okay. Was there any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. I will call the vote then. All in favor? And that is carried. There was no notices of motion received prior to the meeting. Was there anybody who had a notice of motion tonight? Not seeing any. Any announcements? Councillor Andrews.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I have three. First, I wanted to just acknowledge the Orangeville Blitz of the Northern Premier Hockey League. They tied their best-of-7 second-round playoff series against the Six Nations Ironmen, 7-3 victory. Game 3 is back in Orangeville on Saturday, the Alder, 7:30. Let's see if we can bring out a large number of Orangeville residents to cheer on this hockey team. They are doing much better than the Toronto Maple Leafs are this season. And it is incredible hockey. And, you know, for those of us who've been regular attendees of this hockey, I'd like to see a few more people showing up. It really is. It's inexpensive fun, but it's also high-quality hockey. Second, a big shout out to our Orangeville Road Repair crew, who I saw again out on the roads today. It was a beautiful day to be doing other things, but they were doing what was necessary. Again, I'm not sure what the plan is, but again, I want to thank them for being patient and so supportive and professional. And the last is post-event, which was the International Women's Day breakfast, but also International Women's Day, which was officially recognized yesterday. I want to acknowledge to all the wonderful women, not only do we have on staff here on council, but also in our community who make a huge difference in our community every single day. So again, thank you for who you are and what you do in our world. That's all I have, Mayor Post.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to put a plug in for Theatre Orangeville's newest production. It starts March 12th to the 29th, and it's Murder at Ackerton Manor. And if you liked some murder and mystery, this should be a fun-loving spoof, then I encourage you all to get your tickets and enjoy a night out of some murder mystery.
Thank you, Councillor Sherwood. Anything else from any members of council? Not seeing any. We will move into bylaws then. The recommendation is that all of the bylaws for the current council meeting listed under item 17 be read three times and finally passed, which today is just the confirming bylaw. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor Taylor. All in favor? And that is carried. And can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Stevens, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.